message to Kamala Harris is, how dare you call people a racist for wanting to close down that wide open border? Our message to Kamala Harris is, how dare you call the citizens of your own country bad people because they don't want a flood of illegal migration in their country? Kamala Harris, how dare you attack the citizens of your own country for not wanting their children to die of fentanyl overdoses? Kamala Harris, how dare you call the citizens of your own country bad people? You're a bad person for causing this border crisis. We are not bad people for complaining about it.
The things that we should note, and I don't know if we can show this number. I want to put this up on screen. Latino voters have moved away from Harris in Arizona. If you believe this New York Times poll, her lead has shrunk by 11 points in that voting bloc. She was at 60% in August, now 49% now.
When you look at this latest poll, and again, I know people have their views of the polls, but this is a credible New York Times Siena College poll. They actually asked voters about policies from both Trump and Harris that they think could impact them in the future. And 45% of the voters say Trump's policies would actually help people like them versus just 37% for Harris. That's looking at the future, not just the past here. What do you say to that, Ian?
Well, again, there's been some Quinnipiac polls just over the last few days that suggest a different picture of the country, of people thinking that her economic or immigration or reproductive freedom plans would help them more. The polls are going to kind of shift around a little bit.
Oh, my God. Harris seems to be tanking in the polls. As you saw from the intros, I gave you a collection. I think J.D. Vance, that segment of him speaking, how dare you, Kamala Harris, call people racist because they don't want foreigners in their country. How dare you call Americans racist because they want their government to prioritize themselves over foreign actors like illegal immigrants who are breaking your country's laws to come into this country, and you're rewarding it? How dare you? And this is a sentiment I talked about yesterday when I say that Harris fears the real voice of the American people. And slowly but surely, you're seeing Trump lead into some of the swing states like Arizona, especially Arizona, as you saw from one of the intro clips that I gave you, that the Latino voters are shifting towards Trump. That's what the poll is highlighting. I can't give you specifics. No polls can really give you the specifics of what actually people are feeling. But they can tell you about trends. And she lost 11% support from Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta he didn't seem happy to report that. And this is why she's desperate for a second debate. Pretty much, I can sum up Kamala Harris's whole campaign in one meme. I'm running on hope. I hope you forget the last 3.5 years, because she's involved in the last 3.5 years. I tell you about her policy positions. I tell you about her execution on these policies, right? And many people, and this is one of the reasons I say many people don't trust the Democratic Party, many people realize the Democratic Party gets away with lies all the time. And here's someone who's involved in Project 2025, essentially highlighting that Trump was in no shape or form involved in the making of Project 2025. I know a Democrat will need to see this, but I'm going to show you a 1 minute of this clip, and then I'll move on to the next clip highlighting why I think Donald Trump is leading in some of these polls. Let's take a look, guys.
I have a prepared opening statement that I'll get into in just a second, but Ranking Member Raskin, you reiterated and have created a boogeyman that just isn't there. I did author the EPA chapter on Project 2025, but in the course of that, I did not work with President Trump, with any of the people who work for him directly or his campaign. And it is very misleading to suggest that there's any coordination there, because I can personally tell you it did not happen. And I am not vying for a position in the next administration. I've actually left D.C. and I've moved to a small town in Mississippi where I interact every day with people who live outside this bubble of gaslighting and misleading, and they actually are dealing with the consequences caused by policy decisions of this administration that isn't defined by progress, but defined by creating unnecessary hardship.
So that's pretty much the hint. That's government for you, right? And she has highlighted the problem is our politicians are in a bubble protected by the ramifications of their bad decisions, while we have to sit there and deal with it. But the left will have the gall to say you're brainwashed if you think otherwise. Here's a clip from Donald Trump where he highlights the focus on abortion. It's so, like, to us as men, like, that's not the biggest issue in our lives, right? The biggest male issue right now in 2024 is World War III or the possibility of getting war. That's the biggest concern to men because men know if it gets bad enough, they'll be forced to be drafted for these wars. And this is one of the biggest men issues in 2024 is that war. And a lot of women in my view, they seem selfish because they want to vote for a candidate that's more likely to put us in a situation where we'll have foreign leaders. I told you in my videos, 200 generals endorsed Kamala Harris. All these warmongers endorsing Kamala Harris, like Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney. That's for men like me. I'm like, no. I can't vote for Kamala Harris because she's more likely to escalate a war, while Trump will be more likely to try to de-escalate a war. And I don't understand how, it's become a prime issue. But hey, this is the state of our country. I think this speech beautifully encapsulates what Trump is resonating with the American people, I believe. Let's take a look.
Because that's all they talk about. Our country's a mess. It's a mess. The borders are bad. The trade is bad. The inflation is bad. It's the worst time in your lives in our country. We're being laughed at by everybody in the world. Everything is wrong with our country. Nothing's right. And all they talk about is abortion. The fact is, for 52 years, they've been trying to do what we did. And the votes are all taking place in Ohio. It took place in Kansas. And it was more liberal than people would have thought. But it's taking place all over the land, and the vote's going to change, and it's being negotiated, but it's the vote of the people, and it's with the exceptions. We want to have the exceptions. Some people have to follow their heart, but it's hard not to have the exceptions. It really is. But that's all they talk about. The country's falling apart. We're going to end up in World War III, and all they can talk about is abortion. That's all they talk about.
The media, Democrats, y'all got problems. Because this projection of trying to pretend, these people are brainwashed. You guys are in a cult. They brainwash you. Really? I just hold the positions of many people that held 40, 50, 30, 20 years ago. Hell, even 10 years ago. You would have been seen as the weird one.
What is something weird about conservatives?
There is almost a cultish vibe, I feel. The way they operate within themselves, they refuse to listen to outside people, they're refusing to learn, essentially. I think that is a lot.
Now, I already debunked this narrative about conservatives don't listen to outside people. What are you talking about? A conservative's whole life is about listening to outside people. You got Hollywood that's on your side. You got academia that's on your side. Overwhelmingly, 12-to-1 ratio. A college faculty is more likely to be left-wing than right-wing. 12-to-1. For every one conservative faculty member in college, there's 12 liberals that replace him. But you're pretending that conservatives live in a bubble. Projection. I don't know how many times I'll have to explain myself, but hey, this is how it is in political discussions. You got politicians trying to gaslight you to believe misleading narratives. You got the media condoning it, like the Very Fine People hoax. Trump didn't say that, but ABC hurt their credibility by David Muir, didn't fact check her. So now to me, that's an uninformed news analyst, and you're supposed to give me the news. You're supposed to give me the information, and I know that was a hoax all along. Like everyone knows that was a hoax. Even Snopes was supposed to actually admitted 7 years later that it was a hoax, confirmed it. But here you guys have this fake moderator on the ABC debate not checking Kamala Harris, and then you want to you want to get mad when there's an appearance of bias. Your actions kind of correlates or solidify that you have a bias, and then when called out and asked for accountability, the media don't want to hold any type of accountability for spreading misinformation by Democrats by not being consistent for how they interview, how they journalize, how they fact check politicians based on their political affiliation. How is this not discrimination? This is political discrimination by the media. And I want to highlight, I think, the perfect thing that encapsulates what the American people is feeling, how I think of the current administration, what I think is currently going on, you're gonna see a debate between two people of opposing political ideologies. You know this guy already. I forgot his name already. I always forget his name. But to me, he represents the typical liberal in his bubble, you know, always around liberal people, right? I already told you, I have the stats to back it up. Democrat men and women are more likely to block, remove themselves, disown people, disassociate with people of a different political ideology. But you saw the cultist over there, the weird guy. He's saying, "Oh yeah, this cultish and this kind of," but you're explicit. You're doing the same behaviors you claim the conservatives are doing. Right, and this 2-minute clip will highlight perfectly what is going on in the state of our country and how many Americans are feeling across the political aisle. Let's take a look.
Even more,
and then more than likely,
voted for Joe Biden.
More than likely to be a higher number this time. Natalie, over to you.
And even more people voted for Joe Biden, and that's the number that matters. You can have
that you still think that President Trump has the incumbent advantage over Kamala Harris, which I think is a tacit, if not outright admission, that the 4-year track record of the Biden-Harris regime is nothing to actually run on. Those are your very own words. And sure, we can just play sound bites or clips.
The incumbency advantage just means that he was the direct president, not Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not the direct president.
Approach that the Biden regime has taken geopolitically. Sure.
See how he tries to play the game? Oh, she wasn't directly, but she's still part of the administration. She still played some part in the outcome that we got. And it's not likely that she's going to deviate for what Joe Biden did. And to go back with these votes, many people voted for Joe Biden. And in my view as a conservative, many under false pretenses, especially with the Hunter Biden laptop story. There's a poll show that, hey, if you have known about the Biden laptop story before you voted, would that have changed your vote? Many people said yes, to the point where that number was big enough to give the election to Donald Trump, to win the election for Donald Trump. But you have many journalists, many people in media intentionally ignore the story, pressured big tech to censor the story, so that way they can get their desired outcomes. And now that the Democrats, these liberal journalists, these people in media like Sam Harris bragging about the fact that they colluded with each other to essentially memory hold the story or discredit the story long enough for Joe Biden to win, you got their outcome. You got the liberal outcome. You got what the liberals thought was best for you, America. And what are the results of that? That's all I'm gonna tell you. Look at the outcomes. Don't care about intentions. Don't care about personality. Look at the outcomes. What are your outcomes? And who gave it to you? And who's more likely to give you something else? Who's more likely to give you something different? There's no way you can justify logically to vote another Democrat in office unless you are a Democrat, unless it's tribal politics, unless you just are an emotional voter who hate a guy that you don't even know. He doesn't even know your first name, but you hate him so much like he stole something from you. But I digress.
Biden might stand up there. He doesn't know Modi's name. Whatever, even if you choose to overlook that, which I don't necessarily think, again, looking at Biden holistically, how he is health-wise, I do not think he is all there. That administration has failed time after time when it comes to any region of the world. We're as close as we've ever been to the brink of World War III, but specifically with the Quad Alliance, the Biden administration isn't even strong enough to stand up to the Chinese Communist Party and say that the reason why we're meeting with the Quad right now is because we want to tackle Chinese Communist Party and China's broader quest for global hegemony in the region. They won't even say that to Politico. It's only on hot mic tapes where you hear Antony Blinken mutter the word China, and that's their framing of the Quad Summit. Joe Biden can't even stand up there and call out China, I would argue, because he's way too compromised because of the business deals of his son. But even if you put that aside, this administration has always taken a horrific America Last approach to affairs on the world stage. You can sit there and laugh, but we're as close as we've ever been.
Typical liberal. Don't got an argument. Gotta make faces. You gotta laugh. What's so funny about what she said? This is why I said liberals, you guys, sorry, not all of you guys, but many of you guys act like this guy. Condescending, know it all, no humility at all, right? Dismissive. Right? What encapsulated a liberal perfectly was Bill Maher, when he was laughing at Dennis Prager when he mentioned, they're putting tampons in men's bathrooms. And they just started laughing. Not because they know it's false, but the ignorance to not understand that that's what's currently going. And then you realize too late. That's the curse of liberalism. It realizes too late. It enables and enables and enables and enables. And then when their enablingness come back to hurt them, that's when they realize, oh, this is what they were talking about. But conservatives saw it a mile away. They're like, yo, let's just stop going. No, you're exaggerating. You're blowing out of proportions. Liberalism for you.
To World War III. And meanwhile, quite literally yesterday, you have Zelensky touring ammunition factories in Pennsylvania, which is just a...
Side note, that was not a good look. You coming in here, it's essentially, it seems like you're, how will I say it? I don't know. The optics on that did not look good. You had Josh Shapiro, an American politician, signing a missile. It almost seemed like you want a war. That's the impression that American people are getting from this. And so, especially right now, the sentiment of American people, we not looking for war right now. And the fact that Kamala Harris has some troops on the ground, a small troops on the ground. How much is small? 12 battleships? That don't sound small to me. That sound like at least a couple thousand people, a couple thousand soldiers. But it's small, trying to minimize what they're actually doing. This is what I'm talking about, the enableness. That picture of her of a American politician signing a missile with a foreign leader right next to him. Does that says we want to stop war or we want to encourage war? The Democrats literally are doing everything. It's like it's so in your face, America. It's like they know. It's like they feel. That's how confident they are that you're going to vote for them in. Like they don't even care about appearances anymore. If you're a logical American, you're an American that cares about not sending your kids to war. You don't want the possibility of war being on the table, the draft to be on the table. You don't want that possibility. You want someone who wants to de-escalate situation, not escalate situation by not calling out China, by not effectively withholding funds from Iran to allow them to fund Hezbollah, that allowed the attack on Israel, that caused all this mess. Like everything comes back to how the Democrats managed our government. And you want to elect someone that was a part of that into office. No logical person can justify that to me. Only a tribalist can justify that to me. Only an emotional person can justify that to me. Only an abortion single issue voter can justify to me why they should vote for Kamala Harris. To me, all that is emotional. None of that is rational. That's insanity to me. You want to vote for the same party over and over again and you want to expect a different result? How likely is that to happen? Let's bring it down to a round of probabilities. How likely it is that a Democrat will do anything differently than the previous 3.5 years that Joe Biden just pushed? Not much different. It might be a slight deviation, but we're still trending in the same direction. Everything points to Trump being the guy. You close your eyes, you look at the issues, you look at the policies, just like in the polls, many people agree with Donald Trump. So why not support Donald Trump? Because of culture, because of the liberals' perception, the demonization of people who support Donald Trump. Or you're a bad person if you support Donald Trump. Kenny, you're a black man. How could a black man like you support Donald Trump? Giving this false premise that you're an evil person. You're supporting evil because of their messaging of threat to democracy to the point where they'll justify a man attempting to assassinate Donald Trump. A man, a would-be assassin, I'm finding this out in Florida, who put $100,000 on Trump's head. But Democrats' rhetoric is not contributing to political violence. Let's end off the video.
Continuation of the Biden-Harris strategy that they secretly announced last year, saying that the way we're going to sell Americans on supporting the Ukraine war is by saying that more aid packages to Ukraine actually boosts the manufacturing base here in the United States, and it's good for American jobs. So nice to know that Zelensky is now a de facto surrogate for the Harris campaign, but their foreign policy approach has never been about American people. That's why it's so woefully unpopular. So when Joe Biden stands up there and forgets the Prime Minister of Modi's name, the reason why it resonates so soundly with American people is because we're tired of being lectured by the so-called elites and experts in the room, all those very same people who told us that if President Trump became president, the world, the new, the world order, the kind of neo-globalist world order would just automatically collapse. It didn't. That's what happened. It was all projection. That's what's happened under Joe Biden.
Exactly. And this is how the liberals hurt their credibility. This is how the media hurt its credibility. False narratives. And when people and I got a clip coming, I got a video for you guys coming out after this one, where I highlight exactly some of the sentiments of people who are more left than I am. Like I'm trying to show you guys across the political spectrum, as much as I can anyway, right, that this is not popular what the Democrats are doing. And to say, hey, vote for me for more of the same is not a good argument. Tim Walz even acknowledged this. We can't have 4 more years of this. You're right, Tim Walz. We can't have 4 more years of this. And that is all led by Democrats, supported by Democrats, albeit by some Republicans. Don't matter. The trend is MAGA, American first. We want that. We want an administration that puts America first, not a cabal of elitists, self-centered politicians who endorse Kamala Harris because they all going to protect each other's interests over the interests of the American people. This is the sentiment that I'm hitting at, and I hope you guys understand. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with my angle on this? Do you disagree with my angle on this? You're more in the middle. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I always appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.